Welcome to the episode 20 summary of the Reading Finnegans Wake in 200 Sessions podcast, where we analyze Finnegans Wake by James Joyce 3 pages at a time. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. All right, today we are diving headfirst into one of literature's biggest, well, let's call it a challenge, James Joyce's Finnegans Wake. You've probably heard of it, right? The book that's famously unreadable, a total forest of puns, crazy allusions, and this weird dream logic. But what if I told you there's a way in, a key, kind of, to start decoding the whole thing? Let's jump in and see how it's done.
So take this line right here from page 66. It just perfectly sums up what it's like to read this book, doesn't it? It feels like English, but it's all warped and dreamlike and honestly super confusing. You read it and you're like, will the light ever break through the night? Will we ever figure out what's going on? And believe it or not, by unpacking just a couple of pages today, we're going to see that the answer is yeah, kinda.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to look at 4 key things from just these few pages. We've got a mysterious letter, a very curious coffin, some really confusing testimony, and the story of what happened to 2 young women. I promise, if we break these down, you'll start to see this incredible hidden structure that's lurking just under all that chaos.
All right, first up, the mysterious letter. Now, this isn't just some random plot device. This thing is a huge symbol that pops up all through the book. Think of it like this massive undelivered chain letter, and it represents, well, everything. A legal document, a piece of laundry, even the book itself.
Okay, look at this. This is where it gets wild. You can see how every single word is doing like double or even triple duty. 7 verses stages of ink. Okay, that could be the rainbow, right? But it also sounds kind of French, which makes you think of laundry. The sender is a laughable party. That's a straight-up pun on the main female character, Anne Olivia Plurabelle, or ALP. And the address? It's just this whirlwind of wordplay, hiding the main guy, HCE, and mashing up Eden, Dublin, and London all in one go. It's nuts.
And it doesn't stop there. Even the description of the language is just as packed. Lappish language? That's not just about Lapland. No way. It's a pun on lap for Anne Olivia. It's the German word for childish. It's even Latin for a slip of the tongue, all at once. The text is a Siamixed tuatok. Get it? Siamese twins, double talk. And then he just drops in references to Jonathan Swift and Lawrence Sterne. So Joyce is literally describing the letter as being exactly what it is, this incredibly complex, pun-filled, layered piece of writing.
Okay, let's switch gears to our next puzzle and see how this all connects. The curious coffin. I mean, it just shows up out of nowhere. The text suddenly starts talking about this coffin that's been taken from a funeral home, and right away, you know it's connected to all those rumors swirling around about the main character's death, his big fall from grace.
And here's the thing, Joyce basically tells us what he's up to. He calls the coffin a triumph of the illusionist's art. See, it's an illusion. Just like the language we were just looking at, nothing in this book is ever just one thing. It's this crazy world where everything is constantly shifting its shape and its meaning.
And this right here is a perfect example of his method. The coffin gets mistaken for a hand harp. Then you get this line, hand warp to distinguish, which is a pun on it's hard work to distinguish, but also a little wink to the tragic hero Tristan. But wait, it goes even deeper. Jubei, Jubilee, and Tabot, these are all mangled references to the 3 sons of Lamech from the Bible. You've got Jabal, the tent dweller, Jubal, the father of music, and Tubal-Cain, the first metalworker. So in just one single sentence, a coffin, an object of death, transforms into the origin of music, shelter, and craft. It's just brilliant.
So, you might be asking, why does any of this matter? Well, it all connects to this core idea that Joyce used to build the entire book, something called the Viconian cycle. There was this philosopher, John Battista Vico, who believed history wasn't a straight line, but an endless loop of death and rebirth. So the coffin? That's the end of a cycle. But the fact that it turns into a harp, an instrument of creation, that's the signal for the beginning of the next cycle. It's a key idea in the Wake. Every funeral is also a birth.
All right, so we've had symbolic objects. Now let's jump into a totally chaotic courtroom scene. We have a constable on the stand testifying about an arrest. The problem is, his language is so slurred and contradictory and just jam-packed with puns that trying to find the actual truth is, well, it's pretty much impossible.
Just listen to this testimony. The constable says he's describing a queer sort of a man who, sounding totally drunk, hiccuped, so hiccuped and kicked, at the Dun and Doris. But get this, Dún and Doris is actually Irish for shut the door. So the guy is literally kicking against a command. The language itself is drunk. It's performing the scene it's trying to describe.
And just when you think you're getting a handle on it, bam! The accused, this guy McPartland, flat out denies the whole story. He says, "You are deeply in error, deeply in error." So now we've got two completely different stories, and both are told in this bizarre, distorted language. Joyce never tells us who's right. He just leaves us, the readers, to act as the jury, with nothing but totally unreliable evidence to go on.
Okay, for our last piece of the puzzle, the story takes another sharp turn and focuses on two young women. Now, these are the girls from that infamous incident in Phoenix Park. You know, the rumored scandal that's the source of all the main characters' problems. The book literally calls them the causing causes of all.
So, let me introduce you to Lupita, Lorette, and Luperca, Latouche. What you have to know is that they're really just two sides of the same coin, two aspects of a character named Izzy. And just check out their names, Lupita and Luperca. Both come from the Latin word for she-wolf. Meanwhile, Lorette was Old French slang for a prostitute. So right away they're set up as these ancient, dangerous, provocative figures, mixing old mythology with modern slang.
And what happens to them could not be more different. Lupita, who's described as the pale one, drank carbolic and died. And this is amazing, Joyce actually ripped that detail straight from a real London newspaper article from 1923. But Luperca? She goes the other way. She becomes this timeless temptress figure, selling her favors and getting connected to these legendary women from Irish myth. That is just pure Joyce, right there. He's blending the daily news with ancient national myths.
And all of this brings us right back to the book's main themes. The story of these two girls, all the whispered sins and the rumors they kick up, it all leads directly to the threat of blackmail. And that's what hangs over the main character, HCE, for the entire book. It's basically the engine that drives all his guilt and his downfall. So after all that, after looking at just 4 little things from a handful of pages, what's the big takeaway? It's really this. In Finnegans Wake, the language isn't just there to tell you the story. That dense, confusing, layered web of words, that is the story. The whole book is basically simulating a dream, a place where identities get all blurry, objects transform into other things, and logic just completely falls apart.
Which kind of leaves us with one last big question. Maybe the goal here isn't to understand Finnegans Wake like you'd understand a normal novel, to find one single right answer. Maybe the real point is just to experience it, to dive into that ocean of language and just appreciate the absolutely infinite, beautiful, and sometimes hilarious puzzle that Joyce built for us. It's not a lock you're supposed to pick, it's a whole universe you get to explore.